You, Inc., the Advocacy Corporation. If you are passionate about ensuring the safety and prosperity of your children, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you are passionate about doing something about the rising cost of health care, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you can't understand why the values and principles that come from a view of the world that supports a belief in a higher power have been replaced with one that defines people based on what they have, how they can be used, and what they buy, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you cannot understand that the last time you were on the phone with customer service for hours, if not days, discussing a problem you had because of their mistake, due to their incompetence, and you were not paid for your time that they so casually took from you, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you cannot understand why McDonald's sees more of you than your kids do, your company is overregulated, more people are not holding our elected officials accountable, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you can't understand why Congressman Wexler is now directly appealing to viewers on YouTube because the corporate media will not carry his concerns to the American people, why more people are not concerned about global warming, why we are outsourcing all of our middle-class jobs to third-world nations, why we have replaced the divine right of kings with the vote of uninformed, uninterested people who governs in our best interest using rigged voting machines by Diebold, why we are borrowing $200 billion as a nation from China to bail out our banks who made really bad loans to people who could not afford them, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you can't understand why we as citizens are being asked to sacrifice more and more of our constitutional freedoms, yet at the same time we are building a road from Canada to Mexico through the U.S. to, quote, support global trade, and not inspecting the trucks going across our border. Translation: Grandma's a bigger threat than an uninspected truck. If you can't understand why our government is approving genetically engineered food, why even though Benazir Bhutto stated Osama bin Laden is dead, we are still fighting war on terrorism against him. Why the RFID chip in your new driver's license coming in May 2008 makes it easier to steal your identity. Yet you need to have this, quote, protection so you can get on a plane. You need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you can't understand why we are so preoccupied with movie stars, royalty, and sex and violence is the language of our culture, if you can't understand why when you went to collect your benefits promised to you by your employer, when you got sick, you had to fight for them, if you can't understand why we are not framing terrorism in the larger context of a flat world, for as when the world goes flat for Walmart, it so too goes flat for Al-Qaeda, Thomas Friedman. If you can't understand why you as an employer were just sued because you didn't fire someone with an offensive t-shirt, why your gun was just taken from you and you are a law-abiding citizen, ready to do what you asked the police to do, protect your family, you need to create your own advocacy corporation. If you can't understand why you as an employer, the last time you tried to fire someone for not doing their job, got sued for doing so, why no one seems to be paying attention to Psalms 22 from the Judeo-Christian Bible, where the borrower is servant to the lender, and how people conveniently forget that Jesus Christ himself opposed usury, or interest, and was so strongly opposed to it that he flipped over the tables of the money changers, the bankers, at the tabernacle. if you can't understand why, when you last saw your doctor, your insurance company told your doctor what drugs you needed, why we spend $750 billion on our military and very little on our social infrastructure, you need to create your own Advocacy Corporation. If you can't understand why you as an employer need to spend so much money on lawyers and lobbyists, why people are not more upset that the president and vice president, when faced with information from the CIA that did not support their position of going to war with Iraq, created a new group called the Office of Special Plans, designed to sell the war to the American people. When a former United States ambassador who knew the truth challenged them, they outed his wife, a CIA agent, and destroyed our nation's ability to get, quote, credible intelligence. They weakened our ability to fight terrorism in retaliation, and then use it to justify stripping us of our civil liberties. You really need to create your own Advocacy Corporation.